about with the 11 moon centers. You know, it's tapping into your sensitivity, tapping into your subtle nature, and finding out what's correct for you. There's nothing wrong with experimenting, especially if you haven't done it before or tried it this way. But, you know, figure out a time where you can allocate time to do it and test it out. Okay. If you haven't figured out what's correct for you yet. All right. Because there's all kinds of fasts. And, you know, for you, it may be looking different than a water fast. It might be, maybe you just, all you're doing, maybe your fast is going to look like just eating vegetables all day and nothing else other than water. Okay. Because that allows you to get some nourishment, you know, or it's eating fruits all day, you know, or it's something, you know. One of the things is that, you know, like I have clients all the time and that they, you know, want to try fasting and whatnot. And it's like, okay, well, let's first, you know, why don't you just remove all the sugar, okay, and the heavy fatty stuff. Just try that for, you know, a while. And that's a fast, because that's a fast for them, right? That's something that they're doing. They're eliminating that from their diet for a period of time so they can get a chance to see how that shifts and changes their body. So there's different levels of in which we, you know, do a fast and what's correct for us. Likewise, when you suggest to your students, you know, you need to be aware of this. Because it's not the same across the board for everybody, for every body. We're all different, right? Okay. So does anybody have any questions in regards to fasting right now or the lunar cycle? Because this is something you can track along as you're tracking your 11 moon centers and that pattern, what that is. You can also track the full moon, new moon, and the lunar cycle, excuse me, and the 11th day. Okay.
And there's a great website for tracking the moon, and I use it a lot. It's called moongiant.com. And you know, if you have an iPhone, under your health app, you can track your moon cycles. Did you know that? Under your health app, it'll say like track your flow, and then you can put in which days you're actually menstruating, and it will record it for you under your health app on your iPhone.
It's amazing.
It wants to get to know you. Like, look, it wants to know you.
Free heart, Deva.
So the 11 moon cycles, do you just go by your mood and then figure out where you're at? And do they skip around? Like, they don't go down the list, that's for sure, I wouldn't think. But at least I wouldn't guess that. So do they skip? Like, they move around on that paper? And then maybe your whatever cycle is this time, and then you go into that one, and then, is that how it works?
You follow your pattern as you kind of get into, you have to really get sensitive to all these points and find out what your specific pattern is. No, it's not going to necessarily go in that order that, like I emailed you, right? It's not necessarily going to start at the top and go to the bottom or go from the bottom to the top. You know, it's going to be all over the place.
And you just do it by your mood. You look at it and go, oh, that's it right there. Right?
Well, I mean, yeah, you could sense some of it by your mood. Some of it's going to be, you know, like, for example, my cheek, you know, was just a few days ago. Okay. And how I knew that is because of, you know, kind of it, it was, you know, really great for my husband to be around me and whatnot, but it wasn't the best time for me to be making any decisions or serious decisions about anything. You know, it's kind of when I'm, you know, actually more attractive because my cheeks get all rosy and whatnot. And my mouth actually is, you know, I'm tasting foods differently. I mean, the whole area, okay, is noticeable for me. It's one of the easiest places for me to find is tap into my cheek. So no, it's not necessarily my mood. It's just what I'm noticing, like different things and how it shifts in my body. And so if I just focused on my mood, well, no, I'm super moody. So that's not the way for me to track that necessarily. Okay. So, hello, Kabbalah Avatar.
Why wouldn't it be influenced by the phases of the moon?
You mean your 11 moon centers?
Yeah, yeah. Why wouldn't it be like, oh, this is like the full moon, and so I'm at this phase, and this is the half moon, and I'm here?
Because you're very complex and you're very sensitive and you have 16 times power because you have both hemispheres of your brain. So it's not just by the moon because that's too one-dimensional and you're a very three-dimensional kind of person. And every person has their own moon track, like moon route, right? So it's called the 11 centers. We have 11 moon centers, not 11 moon cycles. We have 11 moon centers, and each of them has its own rhythm. So we're trying to track our own route. And this is your test of sensitivity. And once you figure out your route, it stays with you. Then you can use it as a predictor or forecast, your moon forecast. Hopefully that helps. Sadhari.
Does that help, Kabbalah Avatar? It doesn't mean that the moon,
It helps. But to me, like logically, it just seems like to me, it just seems like logically it should like track with the moon, but I guess it doesn't.
uh-huh. Well, it doesn't mean that the full moon and the new moon and the 11th day you're not affected by that, and that and perhaps your moon centers are associated with those phases of the moon. That's not to say it's not. It's just that the only way you're going to know is to follow your own pattern. And in order to find your pattern, you have to first experiment with it. And that's really you getting in tune with your own being in order for you to figure out where it hits. Because it's once you figure out your pattern, it's going to seem logical to you once you figure out your pattern. But, relying on the moon to help you find that's like saying that, and some actually say this, it's like, when the full moon comes out, that means that we're supposed to start a period then. But that's not the case for every woman, And so your cycle, your pattern is going to be your own. And so it's just important to track it and see what that pattern looks like.
And it's so interesting because if you all started hanging out in person, you would probably start menstruating. Do you know that, ladies? You know that at women's camp or at solstice, or I remember being on swim team in high school. Why are we all menstruating at the same time? Because the rhythms start to sync up. And this happens a lot with females, just so you know. That's why it's a great time now, because we're in our own isolated worlds, to start tracking. Because when you'll be with others, it starts to affect you, right? We're learning to be sensitive to the effects of others and being around others. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to move on here into more of the women's teachings, and focusing on that, and 120th day, among many other things we're going to hopefully get to today. So one of the things is I want to ask this question of you. Do you all, as women, know that you're the ultimate incarnation of this universe? Do you know it? I don't see very many heads shaking. Okay, this is a problem. All right. Okay, because it's super important, because what happens is that if we're not acknowledging this understanding about ourselves, then it makes it really difficult for us to understand that we have 16 times the intuitive power, 16 times the intelligence. I mean, we have we have our clients, right? We have two of them. We have earlobe to earlobe, nipple to nipple. Okay. Not everybody has that on the planet. We as females do. Okay. And one of the things that a lot of us, for one reason or another, have gotten in a bad habit of is not trusting ourselves. We've made up all kinds of stories that has either diminished our dignity, our integrity, our psyche, our emotional being. We look in the mirror, decide that what looks good enough, what doesn't look good enough. We find all kinds of ways to pick ourselves apart. And when we do that, we're ruining the very essence of who we are. I mean, it's one thing if we get all kinds of attacks from outside, but the thing is we have taught ourselves, and yes, you can, people can blame it on conditioning. We can blame it on how we were raised. We can blame it on different things that happened to us in our lives that were traumatic or not nice. Okay. We have a choice to either hold on to this energy of negativity and find all kinds of ways to pick ourselves apart. But we have to start to acknowledge ourselves as a whole, full human being that is that power of the feminine. Okay. And there's a refinement that comes with this. When we're attuned to our frequency and we're adjusting, okay, I'm going to tell you this, all right? Nothing is static, and I'm sure you already know this, but truly, nothing is static. And one of the things that we're super good at as females is adjusting and moving with the flow of things. That's a power we have, okay? And the truth is as much as we want things to stay the same, this beautiful moment, or the moments we actually choose, lots of us choose to focus on the negative of like, what's wrong in my life? What's wrong with my body? What's wrong with my relationship? What's wrong with my, whatever. We spend more of our time focusing on that rather than focusing on all this big capacity that we have, this vastness that we have. And this technology is what allows for us to embrace all of that. Okay. So if you want to look, you can look, if you're trying to look at where we're going today, we're going over into starting with page 230. And maybe we'll read out of that or not. I don't know. But the point I'm saying is that our actual job is to keep all of our systems working at our highest vibration. Okay. We have to have our inner vitality in order for us to experience that peace, that compassion, that fulfillment, that happiness. Okay. And that has to do with our self-esteem. That has to do with our radiance. Okay. The very glow that's in our face. So, have you tapped into that? And do you feel it on a daily basis? Hands, words, anybody? Sita Daspriti, awesome. Nobody else? Shakti Harjeet, okay. Priya David, there we go. All right, okay. Because, we get stuck a lot of times. We get fearful, right? There's nothing wrong with fear. But we have to understand that, fearlessness is actually where we live. Okay. And so what I mean is that we have to clear, and we have to spend time clearing our past, clearing the verbal, the physical, the emotional, the mental, the psychic, the energetic abuse that we have given to ourselves and that we may have gotten from the environment, that we may have gotten from another person. There is no need to hold on to that. None. Things may have happened in our lives that we rather didn't happen. Okay? But that doesn't mean that there's nothing anywhere that says that we're supposed to hold on to it. Nothing. And dress ourselves up in it every day. There is nothing that's not the clothes that we want to be putting on every day. That's not the image we want to be living in. So it's important that, with this technology, with the different clearing capacity we have, clearing the karma, right? We did the arc line and clearing the karma on Sunday, right? That very meditation is one meditation that works for clearing all this on a daily basis so that it doesn't stick to you anymore. Okay. And so when we step into ourselves and the capacity of us as a woman and owning that, we also have the power. It's not all light. We get a misunderstanding that somehow we only look at the light. There's more aspects to ourselves. We have light and dark. We cannot be a human being on this planet without having both. The problem is we spend our time ignoring, most of us do anyway, spend our time ignoring what is there in the dark closet. Because either we're afraid to look at it, we avoid it, run from it, or we think it's this big, incredible monster that is going to just, vomit all over us or attack us. Okay. And the problem with that is that it actually gets bigger the longer we don't look at it. And we have to stop looking at ourselves and as any kind of fractured being. We're not broken. We're not fractured. This shadow, this light is all who we are. We have to embrace that. And one of the things that happens for us, especially, and this goes to all, both feminine as well as male, with this whole shadow and light business, okay? We have greatness in us and strength, but we also have limitations. Even in those shadows, though, lie some gifts that we're hiding from ourselves. So it's important to bring those out, become aware of them, and intimately interact with the shadow. Why? Because we want to bring it out into the light so we can see what it is. And we can clear it out and make use of what's there. But if you ignore it all this time, well, then it does. It's like, it's like a closet that gets full of all kinds of junk, dusty stuff, whatever, and it's like you keep closing the door, keep closing the door. It's like, do you want to pack it around? Do you want to pack around what you don't know about yourself? Because even though what happens to most of us is that we assume we know what's there in the closet. We assume we know what's there. We assume what it looks like. We assume what it feels like. We assume what it's going to do to us. This is the problem, though, if we don't address it, is that it can end up taking over our lives. And then instead of living in any kind of lightness, well, then we're just living in darkness because it buries us, right? You know what I'm talking about? Anybody been there? Done that? Yeah? Okay. So how many of you have come out of it? How many have started to intimately work with that side that you've been ignoring? So what have you found out? Like, is it the big animal that you thought it was? You know, is it the, you know, was it something that was going to be a life or death experience? Was it the end of the world? I don't hear anybody. So if you don't have your mic on, I can't hear you. Even your laughter is good, right? Yeah, go ahead. Just open your mic. It's fine.
I find the shadow very interesting. It's like a realization that I've never cared for myself. That's the shadow I've come up with. I don't know. I've ignored myself all my life. I've took like I'm maybe the best codependent human being on the planet. I'll take care of anybody's needs but my own, and I'll do anything you want to do whenever you want to do it, but I won't do what I want to do. So that's for me, and I don't say what I want to do. So that I've been working on all this, doing what I want to do, and saying what I want to say, and trying to figure out what it is I want to say because I have not spoke like my own truth ever. I don't think. I don't think so. When I look back on my life, I think I was just trying to please everybody. So it's very interesting for me. If that's a dark side, that's what I found. So
Nice. I say it's like recognizing, it's like, see, Prihardevi, you got something to work with, right? It's like, instead of like, kind of like one of those things when you get intimate with it, it's like, oh, aha, oh, look what I've been ignoring, right?
yeah, and I still find like I do that sometimes. I'm like I'm just like now I'm doing something I didn't want to do. Like what
Right,
the hell? How did that happen again? And then I'm
right.
like, well, that was an experience. I don't have to do that again. So
It's
it's
powerful.
interesting. It's all fear. I think it's, swear to God, it's all fear. It's based out of fear. Want to make everything okay. Want to make everybody all happy. Want to, even keep them in view so I keep them happy. You know, just freaky.
Yeah, it's a bad habit we can get ourselves into. Sita Daspriti.
So you were saying that, deep down in our shadow self, we do have strengths. And I was just thinking about you, Preet, just from things that we've talked about. There have been really amazing things that you have done for the world at large for other people that came from your shadow self, that came from all of these things that you're afraid of, or, you know, the dark side of you. I won't say what they are. Those are your things. But I
Thank
mean,
you.
I just, as soon as you started speaking, I was like, oh my gosh, you've done so much good that has come directly from that side of you. So
Thank you. And when I get like too like take care of everybody too much, then I get super super depressed and totally like caved in. Um, so it would be the reason for the mental illness because I don't take care of everybody but myself, and then I get like so, oh my God, I'm like buried in responsibility for others instead of for myself. I don't know. Sorry.
So some of this we have to recognize is the power and protection we get from our arc line and our aura. Okay? Because when our arc line is weak, when it's weak, we actually feel overexposed to other people's misery, to their sadness, and then we're overwhelmed by other people's pain in the world, okay? And it causes us to act ineffectively. The other problem is that when we feel overexposed, guess what? We don't necessarily know that that misery is coming from other people. And so what we do and what our minds are really good at is making up that that's all about us. That misery, that sadness, whatever you want to call it, that we're picking up from a conditioning that we're receiving from others. Why? Because our arc line is weak. Okay. And we're taking it in. And so, and what happens when we take things in? Well, we tend to make it, we're really good as women good at taking things in. That's one of the reasons we're so good at helping other people and being there for others. But the other side of the coin is, right? We start making up stories. Oh, we start feeling heavy and owning this misery and whatever. And then our mind attaches it to everything that's happened to us in our life. Whatever trauma, whatever wrongdoing, whatever thing that's made us upset, all of a sudden, it just creates this weird cycle. And we end up attaching everything that happened to it, happened in our lives, or how we feel about ourselves. And so this is one of the reasons it's so very important to really, that arc line and aura, those are our 6th and 7th bodies. All right. And so that you want to look at it this way, is the arc line is considered the nucleus of the aura, but they both function as our protection and our projection. And so, as you know, right, we have the arc line from earlobe to earlobe. And then the second line is from, one nipple to the other nipple. All right. So something that we have to keep in mind is that, we have to clear out. And one of the things is that, we pick up things as we walk out our door every day, as we walk around other people. In our house, when we come in, and if we have other people living there with us, we also pick up things there. So this is why it's important. One of these things, the aura sweep, just that simple exercise, the aura sweep, where you come up, your hands up, and then you press your hands down, touch the floor. That aura sweep helps clear you. Just that very exercise, doing that 3 minutes in the morning before you go out the door. When you come home, you do something simple like that again, so that you can clear what you've been carrying in from the outdoors. Because the one thing is the aura sweep. Mm-hmm. The other one is this one, right? We're clearing when we're holding the Venus lock, right? We're clearing a window. We're clearing our base. We're clearing our aura. We're also clearing our auric line.
How do you do the aura sweep?
Yeah, that one is just simply coming up overhead. I don't know if you can see. My hands are overhead like this. Turn my hands down and come down and touch the floor.
Oh.
And come back up. You're sweeping through the aura. That's one thing, like when I'm teaching you guys Kriyas or when we're doing something, that's what I always say. It's like, okay, let's just take our hands through the aura here, because it's like, it's just another way to help clear, right? So one of the things is that I'll bring up is that with that second arc line that we have, it carries sexual imprints with it as well. Okay. And these are, what happens is that when we are having sexual relations with another person, our auras merge. Now, I want to be clear here with regards to our auras merging. Anytime we're around another human being, our auras merge, and we're actually we become something different when we're together with other beings, okay? Versus when we're alone. Likewise, the same thing happens though when we're having sexual relations. The difference is that when we're being penetrated, all right, that actually leaves an imprint on us. And that imprint is very hard for us to erase. And so it's important that whether we're in a loving relationship, we also go through a practice of clearing ourselves. And this is not the easiest to erase if you're someone who has had several sexual interactions throughout your life. And so for me, that was something I had to work really hard at, of clearing, because I went looking for love in all the wrong places. Let's just put it that way. Okay. And so I had to work really hard to remove these imprints of all these different people I engaged with. Because what happens is when we carry that around, it weakens us. It causes us to become something different than we actually are. And we actually end up
So the words used to describe it is a gray aura or a murky aura. So you're not as bright and radiant as you normally would be if you are engaged or somehow interacting with someone that you are not too thrilled about. Let's put it like that, okay? Because if you're in a loving and happy relationship, hallelujah, that's awesome. We're not talking about those. We're talking about, when you might have been younger and might have gone to look for validation or love outside of yourself. Yeah, you were, somehow drawn to certain people, but that's over now, but yet you might still feel connected to them. And in other schools, they call it courting. In other places, they say we're energetically connected to others. And in Kundalini Yoga, we say, yeah, your aura is at some point merged. So now because that person is long gone, you haven't fully separated yet. So that's why we do our practice. That's why we do our sadhanas. That's why we take our cold showers to pull our energy back into us. So you're reinvesting in yourself at this point. So Hattie.
Yeah. So like she's saying, it's like those people that I had engaged with, it's like I had to do a lot of clearing because I was carrying that around and it was messing with my identity, messing with my radiance. And so when she's saying it's murky and whatnot, yeah, you can't see clearly. Your intuition is dashed. Everything is affected. And so this is why, again, it's so important to balance all the 10 bodies, but in particular with this aura and the arc line. These shield you from disease. They can even shield us from accidents, poor decision making. Okay. It makes us, when we have...
She laughs at poor decision making. So cute. So cute.
Done that, right? I mean, it's like, it's so true. I mean, it's, I'm not going to make things up as if, yeah, I've been tuned Kundalini all my life and never had it.
That's right. We found the path, right? We found it and we came to it, but
right.
We've had full lives ourselves. And then we wake up to Kundalini Yoga in like our 30s or 40s. So it's not like we weren't human. Of course we did. It's just now look at all the tools we have to brighten ourselves up. And it's to say, you did the best you could. And what you'd all understand, we are all doing the best we can. But now we have the technology to brighten ourselves up even more. And that, I'm not talking about putting on makeup. I'm talking about taking things off. I'm talking about releasing things so you can be brighter. Because, however the woman institution was where you grew up in, we have to shed layers to find ourselves again. Because there was stuff that came from programming from our parents, from society and magazines and media, whatever, right? But this is today, our talk has been, the underlying current of our talk today has been and is the sensitivity that you carry for yourself. What is right for you? And sometimes you walk away from your relationships going, what was that about? Yeah. And you're like, why did I do that again? I said I wasn't going to do that. Why am I doing it again? Well, that's because we have these things that we have needs, and we want to be validated, or we just want to be hugged, or we just want to be accepted. And we go into these situations knowing it's not fully what we wanted, but it's better than not being alone. Right. So like we had to deal with that too. So now we're spending more time on us. And this is why you're going to make better decisions. How are you going to make better decisions? Because you're going to develop in you a very strong aura, a strong arc line. And it's said in the yogic scriptures that a strong arc line can be measured up to like 1 millimeter thick. Can you imagine? You're walking around with a full-on shield. It's like, shield on, like my favorite Star Trek show. Put your shield on. Your shield's at 100%. Shields are at 20%. Oh, we're being bombarded. Shields are unstable. They're going down, right? Like, you don't have to have like that. You can have shield on. And shield on is that radiance that's bright, that when you walk in, people are like, who's that? What's going on over there? Because they recognize you because you're so bright and so real. That's the other word I want to tell you. It's not holy, holy, holy. We're playing a holy game. It's you being your badass, awesome self all the time without apologies, versus tiptoeing around every situation. You can tiptoe, but just be alert. We're creating that alertness in you. Become alert. And just, because Cavalia Aftar knows when she's most in her intuitive days, she's going to see something before it actually happens and go, nah, I'm not going to walk down that arc alley today. She's going to know it. How are you going to know it? Because your intuition's going to kick in, because your aura is so bright and strong, and it's like already moving you to certain places that you're magnetically attracted to, that is even brighter and shinier. Or it can do the opposite and suck you into a situation. You're like, what am I doing here? Oh, I'm supposed to serve the situation, right? But we don't have that luxury of a thought until we are able to develop ourselves to recognize, what am I doing here? And if you can honestly answer that question, go, oh, I'm here to serve the situation. Then it's not like I'm sacrificing myself to be here. It's like, okay, I see. Okay, let me be the forklift of the situation there. Boom. Okay, I'm out. Right? We're trying to find ways to navigate our lives so that our lives are enjoyable. Enjoyable. So when Sadhguru talks about building this arc line and this aura, it's quite advantageous to you to have one, because you won't be punked around by the world. You won't be kicked around. You won't be manipulated. You won't be, persuaded or like swayed when someone says something. You're like, oh, I recognize that. That's a hook. You're trying to hook me. You have an agenda, right? Pritar Deva, you just came from that authentic relationships course. Agendas are everywhere. How are you going to navigate it? How are you going to navigate it now, Pritar Deva?
I think it's interesting just to look and see how I might react differently, act differently, say no. I don't know. It's interesting to me. I don't even think I ever really embraced the word no. Probably from the time I was little, my whole entire life.
This is incredibly empowering for you because you're trying something different. Look, everybody, if you just try something different, you're not going to be sucked into the same routine, sucked into the same words that sway you into doing actions you don't want to do. Now you can just be like, inhale, exhale. I recognize that. I know what you're trying to do. Right? It's like pulling the veil off of the sheep's eyes, or whatever that saying is. Like, oh, I see that now. I wasn't able to see that before. You're like having all your Jedi mind tricks now. You actually are playing the Jedi now. You have those skills. That's right, Pritar Deva. So you can recognize the situation, breathe into it, and go, I'm going to react differently. I'm not going to do the same, because I'm going to end up in the same. I'm going to feel the same, and I don't want to feel that way. So you have to change it. Very good. Arc line, auras, very important. Sadhguru.
Yes, they bring us a tremendous clarity when we have them in tune. Think of them like tuning forks, actually, because they are like your feelers, if you will, like your whiskers. You're aware, and you can notice where is correct for you to go and interact with, when to say yes, when to say no, right? The other thing is one last thing I'll say about the arc line is it acts like a mini recorder. Okay. And it's picking up these vibrations, like I was talking, like the whiskers would, or, it's absorbing it. All right. And so this arc line from nipple to nipple, right? It's it's sensitive, really sensitive. And so, and we're going to have Hari Das talk about it because she's got her tuning on. This is one important reason why you'll see in this community where there's a lot of women that wear tunies, because it actually acts as a helpful protection measure. But I like Hari Das when she talks about it.
It's going to be very short. Here we go. When you wear a tuni, it's like the bride and the veil, right? Like a bride and a veil. It's just a beautiful piece of fabric. It's silk, it's cotton, however you want to put it on you. It's just like a little buffer between you and the world. So the correct way of wearing it is to put it across your arc line. So you just cover your shoulder with it. So just something to break this arc line, to give it some kind of padding. So if you just wear something like this, it's very elegant, but most importantly, when everybody is about to freak out, the lady in the tuni is the last person to freak out. Okay, so if you're in the room, let's say you just happen to be in a building, earthquake, something hits real fast. Oh, what's that? Well, me and my little blankie over here, I'm all covered up like, oh, it's okay, let's deal. It buys you some time to deal with what's actually happening. So that's why when you wear the tuni, and it takes a certain amount of awareness to wear tuni, just like how we saw Preet Hardeva put on her turban today. She was very meticulous in how she pulled it and on the tension she felt. But also when you wear the tuni, it's adding on top of that or a strong arc line and aura from her turban. It's adding on an extra layer of protection. So this is in the 10th body, in the radiant body, that is affected. Yes, Preet Hardeva.
I think I actually used to use my hair like that. And because I feel almost naked without my hair, almost like, I don't know, I'll have to try the scarf thing. How many yards of material is that?
It's 3.5.
3.5. I might give it a try and see, because really, like, this is like naked.
Right. And
Without
some
my
of you
hair.
did buy tunis when you bought your turbans. So, I mean, I think some of you do have it. But basically, like tomorrow when we do our Along Con Cars, you know how you have, definitely find a shawl or some fabric or a blanket, something, and put it right across your head and cover your shoulder like this. Grab any bed sheet and any cotton, like anything, just like wrap yourself in that shawl-like, mummified-like space, because when we chant tomorrow, it's really important that you keep your spine warm. I know it's been so hot and you're like, oh my God, more fabric. But actually at 3 a.m. East Coast time, it's going to be cold or a bit chilly. So you want to keep your spine warm when you meditate. So you just wrap it like this. You just put something around you, kind of like a hug, keep yourself warm. It's very cozy. And once you develop this coziness within you, it's a feeling, and you can go search for that feeling. Okay. Go ahead, Preet Hardeva. I'm watching. Yeah, so just cover this part.
This is my other piece of scarf.
There you go.
It's not really wide enough, I guess, for...
No problem. Something similar. Very good.
Yeah.
Because this is actually the most vulnerable part of your body. In the animal kingdom, we don't have claws, we don't have fur, we don't have scales to protect our body. So what do we have? We have a shawl to cover our necks. This is the most vulnerable part of your body. It's the neck part. The back of the neck, the front of the neck. The chopping off the head's neck, some of us have that incarnation too. So that experience. So when we cover like this, it's actually very cozy.
I did read yesterday, I thought it was very interesting that when you breastfeed your baby's arc line and your arc line mix, which I thought was so cool. Now I can tell my moms that. I have been telling them not to go further than 9 feet away from their babies. And if they don't believe it, they should experiment with it and see if it gets agitated.
That's
Sounds
also
kind
why
of
we
mean.
hold our babies so close to our hearts. We are programming them. We are shielding them so they feel protected. But I've been noticing lately, William, the cat, walks around and he just sits within like 3 feet of me all the time. I don't know why. He just feels safer that way, even though our house is tiny, but he still wants to be so close. The kids, same thing with kids. You know, the more you instill confidence in them, the further they'll be able to be away from you, right? So those really needy kids need to be so close to you and touching you all the time. And then there are those who are just like, I'm good. You know, I see you over there. I'm good. Okay. We want to instill that in others too. We want yours. You know, I have to tell you my pet peeve of a word, okay? You ready for this? When you refer to people who study with you, what do you call them? How do you refer to them? Go ahead, Shakti Harjeet.
My sisters, my Kundalini sisters.
Cute. People in your class, how do you call them?
That's what I call them.
Oh, so sweet. Sita Despriti, what do you call them?
She says the same thing.
Same thing?
I call them sisters.
Okay, this is like, isn't this the main teaching from impersonal, everybody?
Hmm?
You know that? Everybody in class is a student, right? Do you know that?
Yeah.
Do you know Sadhati's the teacher right now and we're all students? Yeah? Okay, so when you say the word Sita Despriti, that they are your what? Say it. It's a term of endearment. You guys are like very terms of endearment over there. So Shakti Harjeet, you call people in class studying with you what, your sisters, right? Yeah, it's sweet. Like it's a sweetness to it. But what happens when they're not sweet or they're doing something really off? How are you going to address them? Because you are the teacher of the class. But you know, what happens when you call them sister?
Well, they get attached.
Yeah, you get attached.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me be clear. Everybody here, they're your colleagues, they're your peers, they're your classmates, they're gonna graduate with you. You can call them sisters, right? Like you happen to all be sisters. If you have someone in your class who paid you $10 to $15 to be in your class and you call them sisters, how's it going to change your dynamics with them? Anybody? Go ahead, Sita Desperti.
It's not personally impersonal, it's personal, and all the personal. Very
Right.
personal.
What's the downfall of that? What's the disadvantage?
Expectations for one. Yeah, I guess, a lot of expectation.
It's okay if you do. I'm just saying it's okay if you do, but become very aware of your words and how you are creating your community with your words. If you say, these are all my sisters, and you take the position that I'm the big sister, then you're responsible for them, right? So that means if baby sister needs her diapers changed, you're going to run over there and do it, right? And if other sisters like cry baby about her ex-boyfriend for the 20th time, you're going to have to go bitch slap her. You know what I'm saying? At some point, you're like, enough already. Versus if you're a teacher, that's a student, why you do give them space? You know what I'm saying? Because when you bring sister into it, it's a very different dynamic. You know, I can say Sadhati's my sister. But if I'm her mentor in the academy and she's my sister, we got a problem. Like I need to redefine my relationship with her or else I will feel like a big burden is on my shoulder. She's not my sister. She is a student. She's here as a peer in the academy. I'm trying to move her through the academy. So in a way, I'm assisting her, but I am not her sister. But in a global, on a universal level, she is, and you are all my siblings of destiny. You are all my divine sisters that share the same light, of course. But it's just your positioning, okay? Because when you get too personal, it's going to be very hard on who when the student leaves? Who's it going to be hard on? That's right. Why you, Shakti Harji? Why would you feel more?
Because I got attached. I got attached and they got attached to me. So I'm hurt. I have emotional attachment to them.
Right. So you actually have an agenda. You want students in class so you can go have tea and coffee with them and Friday movies and Tuesday tacos. Like it becomes a social world of, oh, let's hang out after class versus I teach, you come, you leave, have a good life. You know, until you are able to teach that clearly, everybody is going to be an emotional trap for you. Oh, and they said this and they didn't like the class and no, 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 no. And this is how we're called playing to the crowd. You're playing to the crowd. Oh, we can't do a hard kriya today because Jenny hurt her leg, so we have to do a sitting meditation. You know, it's okay to customize a class, don't get me wrong. But when you do it too much, you lose a sense of yourself. And this is what Sadhati is talking about today about arc line and being strong. And who is it that you are answering your call to every day? Go ahead, Priya.
It should be yourself.
Right. Should be. That's a good word. Should be. Should be yourself. Kavalyati. Kavalyati.
I couldn't hear you because my husband was talking. What did you say?
Oh, nothing. I thought your hand was up. That's why I was calling you.
Oh, no, I was just going like that.
Right. Because, you know, when you tune in as a teacher, you are answering the intuitive hit that you're getting when you tune into the golden chain. It's you. It's you and your higher self. So that's why, you know, when you're teaching and the student is there, I want you to say, they're students. Okay? When you refer to them as my students, what is the implication of that word, of that phrase? Harijoti.
I think it's a bit the same thing as when you call them sisters. They belong to you and you have a kind of responsibility for them. Whatever.
Right. So that's why when people refer to people in their class as my students, I kind of roll my eyes energetically like, oh, really? Are they your students? Because they're not your students. They're whose students? Who are they here for? Whether you like it or not, who are they here for? Whose energetic vibrational hit are they here for? Go ahead, Sita Desperati, you're saying something.
They're there for themselves.
Yeah, but who is the leader of this movement? Let's not forget that. Who is it?
Well, the golden chain, whatever comes through the teacher, the teachings are the leader.
Exactly. And who do we have the honor of thanking for making us a link to the golden chain?
Yogi Bhajan.
And who are we celebrating his birthday tomorrow? Yogi Bhajan, because whether you like it or not, this is the lineage of Yogi Bhajan. These are the teachings of Yogi Bhajan. And it's only because of him that we actually have a school called KRI that teaches his teachings. So that's why I'm telling you, they are not our students. They're Yogi Bhajan students. Or let's put it like this. They are ambassadors of Guru Ram Das. They're all in training of Guru Ram Das School of Healing and Miracles. So we are just the link in between the student and the golden chain. So that's why you can't get attached to students and they can't be your friends, you know, not because you don't like them. Of course you like them, but they are going through what they're going through. So you will never be on the same footing, equal footing, even though you only did your teacher training a year before, because you will always have the power difference between you and the student will always be there, right? So that's why we don't date our students. That's why we don't sleep with them. That's why, you know, like there's all these power things that are in place. So I'm telling you all this to save you some grief in the future, because I know you're gonna love teaching and they're all gonna come for you and it's your birthday and they wanna throw you a big party and give you gifts. And then there'll be a day where they'll turn on you and they'll slander you and they'll say terrible things about you online. And that's a part of the job. That's part of the 4 chambers of the teacher's heart. You remember that? You pump out the information, you pump out the blessings, you handle the negativity, and you clear the negativity. It's going to happen. Like, I'm actually surprised, Sarhari, it hasn't happened yet in this course. I'm actually surprised. Because in every course, there's always at least one that turns. And they turn not because they like you or don't like you. It's because they're clearing something. And when they are clearing something, it's so easy to blame the teacher. So that's why we're very impersonal, you know? In a sense, it's like, you know, I'm with you. I'm your resource. I'm there to support you. But I won't be fazed if you start saying profanities at me. Like, oh, it's normal. I just take it totally normal. Because you can never control the student. You can never say, you're going to feel good with this Kriya, this meditation. Because what if you do the Kriya meditation and that person is somehow triggered into something from the past and they're angry at their ex-boyfriend now? Thank you, Sadhati, talking about the ex-boyfriend. And then it goes into that realm. And all of a sudden in class, everyone's doing leg lifts and having a good time. And this person's sitting here thinking about 1992 and some terrible incident happened with the ex-boyfriend. That's why you can't guarantee good times. All you can do is deliver the teachings. So don't worry about feelings. Don't worry about emotions. Don't worry like if the student likes you or not, because you're not playing to the crowd. You're playing to your own soul. You are answering the question and the quest of your own soul. And as long as you're clear and what you did was right, then wahigiru, what happens is what happens, right? The 3 layers of truth we often talk about. There's your truth, there's their truth, different perspectives of truth. There's the circumstantial truth, and then there's the universal truth. So there's all kinds of truth. So here we are arguing about what happened, what really happened. Different perspective. And that's why your arc line, that's why your aura is so important, and you must build it, or else you're going to be really hurt about life. There's no reason, nothing could ever hurt you. It's just your thinking makes it so. Right? Sahari.
Thank you, Haridas.
And with that, let's just take a break. I'm sorry, I just go on and on in your class, Sahari. So let's just take.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Let's take a break.
15 minutes. See you soon.
Thank you.
Satnam, welcome back, everybody. 15 minutes. But Hetty, you want to continue?
Guess I could mute was off. Okie dokie. Moving on to the Almighty Mama. So we're going to move to talking about the mother. And regardless if we've had children or not, the power of the mother is actually within all of us. Because we as women have this capacity to give birth to creation after creation after creation. So whatever that is, whether it's the birth of a human being or birth of a project, birth of a task, okay? But something when we're talking about actually, you know, when we've got a child in the womb, this is the child actually is connected to the frequency of the strength of our nervous system. And this actually determines the health and vitality of the child from a mental and a physical and a spiritual self. So, but one thing that for sure can change things is the power of our prayer. But this is true for everything. The power of our prayer actually can transform the frequency of a child that's within our womb, as well as anything that we may be birthing creation to, whether that's a project or, like I said, a task, whatever you're working on, whatever your dreams are about, okay? So one of the things is that we have to keep in mind is that when we are carrying a child, that when we bring in meditation, mantra, yoga, it actually is affecting the child at a very, very deep level and at a very cellular level. It can actually, you know, we actually can guide in the soul that is going to be within that being through our mantras and our meditations. And something that, you know, we have to think about as well is that we have to remember, being this mother that we are, it's like recognizing that, you know, we're going to be that child's first teacher. And that starts before the birth. That starts while they're within us. Okay. And then ongoing, that first 3 years, all right, that our aura and the child's aura, they're actually connected for that first 3 years. Okay. How many of you have children? Okay. All right. Good enough. I didn't know. I see Priya Dayal's baby all the time. Right? So what I'm talking about here when I talk about being conscious, and we're going to talk about conscious pregnancy and being conscious mother, all these things though apply to all of us all the time. Okay. Because what does it mean to be conscious? It means for us to be aware of that moment, aware of our intuition. Okay. And so when we say that, you know, we want someone who's carrying a child, we want them to always be keeping themselves, you know, peaceful and uplifted. Okay. I think we all want that. I think we want that all the time. And so the yoga and right, the yoga, the meditation and the mantra and the praying and the chanting, all right, those things, I mean, has it kept you uplifted when you do them? Right? All right. So you imagine what that does, as well as if someone's carrying a child and that vibration that's shifting. Did any of you do chanting, meditation, whatnot when you're carrying your child? Priya Dale? Yeah? Anybody else? No? Okay. So it really does actually bring ourselves a level of peace and understanding, because that vibrant frequency, when we're pregnant, it not only attracts a specific soul, but it actually attracts the subtle body that's going to actually be birthed out of us, that we can connect to. And so this applies to when we're actually going to give birth. Being awake and conscious during birth. So if we don't, I know that there's a lot of people that want to have different kinds of chemicals or medicines and things like that when they're in process of giving birth. Okay. But if we can, we always want to suggest that, they are open to the opportunity of doing it without anything. Okay. Someone like myself, I was never that person that wanted a child in my entire life, but I have one because I was into intense practices, and I just continued those intense practices while I was pregnant. But when I got into the hospital setting, there was nothing. They wanted to do all kinds of things to me, right? They wanted to, put needles in me and, asking me all these questions. And I'm like, no, and of course I'm actually pretty strong when I say a no, and someone tries to force themselves in that situation, they end up getting clawed. Quite frankly, I did. I clawed up the doula, I clawed up the doctor, yes, and the person trying to put something, but that's me, okay? Because I wanted to be awake for the whole thing, because even though I was giving birth, I want to be conscious and aware of all of my actions and also what I'm being asked to do. But also my job is nonstop chanting. My husband, nonstop chanting. My mother, I let her sit in the corner reading a book, okay? Because she didn't, she wasn't comfortable doing that around other people. But we felt that we had a duty in the way that we brought the child in to this plane, to this planet. And we wanted my child to hear those words when they first came out, okay? And so this is something that we have to keep in mind, that even if we have children or we don't have children, we actually all embody that Adi Shakti, okay? This is one of the reasons that mantra is so powerful, because it actually raises our frequency so very high to that creative power that is a direct connection to that divine mother. And so, and what we're doing when we're actually pregnant is we're someone who's actually decided, if we're conscious, mind you, decided to assist that soul coming in. Because that is, no matter us saying that that's my child, that is their own being. They are their own being. They're not a mini me. They're not a mini dad, whatnot. They're their own being. And we're actually got this energy and this power to assist another soul coming here. I mean, think about that for a moment. I mean, for me, even still to this day, the hairs on the back of my neck go up because that kind of power that we have. We can bring that same energy to anything else we do in our life, because it's like a dream, right? You take a dream, that same energy to assist that dream coming here into the present, we can use that same energy, right? And so it's a super divine opportunity for us all to tap into that creative power, because it can take us in so many different directions. All right. And if we happen to be, a mother, that in itself is a prayer that we're giving to our child when they're in the womb, as well as when they come out. So Priya Dayal, you're the one that said that you did some meditations and mantras and things while you were pregnant. Do you want to talk about your experience and what it did for you?
It was, for me, it was very reassuring. It was comforting. It gave me a lot of confidence because I felt like I lacked it. But it was just, yeah, it's just a big transition to like come into motherhood, of course. But I made sure that I listened to mantra, and I chanted mantra, and I meditated, and I wasn't as I wasn't as widely accustomed to like all the practices that I'm learning now, but I did what I knew, and I just stuck with that. And I feel like it was yeah, it was definitely like a prayer every time. And I felt very comforted knowing that I had that, because there was a lot of times where I felt disconnected from like the outside world. It became very inward. But yet people still want to kind of like, um, kind of dote on you in a way, or not. So there was like a lot of just insecure feelings. And I know that even without being pregnant, when those insecure feelings pop up, that always is helpful to listen to mantra or chant. And also listen to, I did a lot of, I was attending a lot of sessions with gong healing, sound healing, things like that. So that was very, very helpful to me. And also when I actually was in the process of laboring and giving birth, I wasn't myself chanting, but I was listening to mantra, and I made sure that I had that in the birthing room with me and playing, because to me that brought a sense of comfort and ease and relaxation, which I knew I needed to bring her through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it became a very like primal experience in the end of it all when she finally made her way out. But yeah, very, very special to have that. I think it was just an intuition, because like I wasn't in any training or anything like that, and I wasn't taking Kundalini classes all the time. But that was my
It lives
experience.
within you. It's there,
Yeah.
and you tapped into that.
Mhm.
And see, when we do that, when we're carrying a child and bringing it into the world, as through those prayers and those mantras, we're surrendering to the divine. And in doing that, it actually is allowing us, in that assistance of bringing that soul into this world, it allows us to give that child an opportunity to realize themselves within this lifetime. That's how big this assistance is. It's not simply just giving birth to the child. We're actually bringing that child in with a level of raised consciousness and frequency and vibration once they enter into onto this planet. Yeah, Haridas.
And it's okay if your mom didn't do all that for you. It's okay,
Of course.
right? Because my mom definitely didn't, but we found our way here, and we can definitely change our destiny by practicing these things now. How many of you are, because you'll be teaching soon or already teaching, when somebody in your class, a student says, I'm going to have my 120th day, You can say, when is it? Let's celebrate it together. So at the end of your class, or you can actually have a 120th day party for them, as in, who do we celebrate on the 120th day? Who is the party for? Said Hadi.
Well, it's for the mother and the child.
It's for the mother, not the child.
Well,
For instance,
it
okay,
was mine.
the 120th day is to celebrate the mom, is to give her such an influx of energy to be like, no matter what, you're going to be okay. So you want to shower that mom with gifts. It's not a baby shower. It's not buy her, little itty bitty clothing for her kids and diapers. It's not for the kid per se. It's for the mom. So when you have the 120th day party, like find what day it is, incorporate it into your class. Today's class is to like direct the energy to her. We dedicate this class to this beautiful pregnant mom over here. You bring flowers, students, other classmates. We'll bring gifts. We'll bring lotions and candles. Well, not so much because she's very sensitive to the smell, but like cozy socks, whatever would expand her, right? So you want to gift, you want to like lather it on thick, the gifts to the mom, because she'll feel very expanded. And the more expanded and relaxed and celebrated she is, the more relaxed her womb will be. And that soul that's coming in on the 120th day will land on an, like Said Hadi says, elevated frequency, elevated, more divine, more expected. Oh, we're so happy you're coming. Yay. Welcome to planet Earth. Like you want to bring that soul in on a high frequency level versus, oh my God, I'm pregnant. Oh my God, I didn't want it. Right? Very different energy versus contraction versus expansion. So that's why when Said Hadi's telling you all these things about motherhood and 120th day, don't forget to celebrate others' 120th days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is when you do the Adi Shakti meditation. Did you already teach this, Said Hadi? Did I miss you? No.
Not today. No.
Okay.
I thought we'd gone over it previously.
Okay. So it's when you sit like this. Have you done this meditation? Do you remember eyes open or eyes closed, Said Hadi? Eyes open, tip of the nose, or eyes closed? That part I don't recall.
I always have my eyes closed, but
okay.
I haven't.
And Priya DL, did you do this for your baby girl? Okay, so this is for, mainly this meditation is for when you find out you're going to have a male, you do this one, right, to reduce the effects of the acid bath, but also when you find out you're going to have a baby girl. When you do it for the baby girl, you're chanting for your female empowerment, but you're chanting for her female empowerment as well. Okay. So Said Hadi, I think at some point you can send that out as a meditation.
You want me to send it out? Okay.
Yeah, please. Okay. So while she's doing that, any questions about this? Very powerful meditation. We'll be doing it just for a few minutes, just so you have a sample of it, so you know how to do it and how to lead it for others. Because you remember when we said, you're not just yoga teachers, you're community builders, you're gatherers of knowledge, you're gatherers of people and food. Remember? We're here, we're hostess, we're party people. This is what we do. We celebrate deaths, we celebrate births, we celebrate each other, anniversaries, like they'll all be coming to you. So just have it in your back pocket, these toolkits you're going to pull out. So on the 120th day, let's say this is an example of one of you, maybe, or someone you know is going to have a 120th day. We put on the calendar, we make an announcement, people bring food, flowers, gifts, and then you do like a regular yoga class, and the meditation would be the Adi Shakti Namo Namo, that one. And then you end with Long Time Sun and Long Sat Nam. And then a party afterwards. So this is another way of building community, because, when that happens, more souls will be coming to your class. More of your lady friends, classmates will start to get pregnant, and then your community will grow and grow and grow. I remember Hadi Jivan's training in Russia. He was there in 2009. He started going. And in the course of 2009 till now, it's only been 11 years, there's been 60 kids born. And there's been 30 new yoga centers that have opened. Like their community is exploding because somebody came over there and started gathering and loving people more and more. And this is what comes through. Yeah. Good. Okay, back to you, Said Hadi.
So did you want me to just email it to him then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's email it. But let's have you lead it just for a few minutes, just to practice at the wrap up of your class.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll do it at the end then.
Okay, good.
All right. So thank you for that, for sharing the 120 days. It is a powerful time because that is, you know, when you have those family and close friends, it actually helps, uplift the mom and make her to feel good and energetic and, be able to receive the soul that's coming in. And then obviously did you have something, Hardus?
Yes. Normally we don't announce that you're pregnant or they're pregnant before the 120th day. Like, this is a very close held secret. Most cultures have it, to not announce before the first trimester, because it's a very fragile time and it may or may not happen, right? That soul, the soul hasn't come in yet to the 120 days. So what we're talking about is the cells growing. The cells may not be growing at a, desirable way. So then it might abort itself because it's not, it's not normal, or it's not growing in a way it wants to grow. So it'll just delete itself. So that's why we don't make big announcements until the 120th day, or you can say in 2 weeks, we're going to celebrate our 120th day. We invite you to our 120th day celebration, but we don't, try not to text all the friends, try not to make social media posts of your ultrasound. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep it close to you until it's time to announce. Because what happens is, and we all know this, it's called the evil eye, right? You've got a friend who's trying to get pregnant for so long. All of a sudden you're pregnant. Oh my God, how could you be pregnant, right? You get a lot of this negativity. People's subconscious negativity comes to you. That's why we don't announce good things until it happens. Do you know that? Who knows that? Who knows that you're not supposed to be talking about things until they happen? Because there's a lot of this negativity and resistance that's out there against your own success. That's why we don't announce things. Like, don't announce you have a new website out until it's out. You know what I'm saying? Don't announce that you have a new class until it's happening and the studio signed off and like, there's so many moving parts. And in a way, we self-sabotage by saying how great the plan is before it actually happens. And along the way, we have so many obstacles that in the end, we just throw our hands up and we quit. And then people already know our plan. And then they hassle you about, like, hey, what happened to that big studio you're going to open? And then they like use it as ammo to attack you. And you're like, didn't work out, right? Like, don't give people the ammo. Just like, keep it close to you. Like, don't say it out loud too fast, too early, unless it's to your support system and they're here to support you. Because when people say they're here to support you, half the time they're not supportive. Half the time they're unloading their unconscious, subconscious negativity at you. Right? So you tell me you're getting engaged. My best answer is congratulations, versus why would you go with that one? Right? That's like very undermining, subversive, divisive talk. But you don't know. People just say things and they're not aware that they're saying it. They're, oops, did that slip out? Yeah, it slipped out. So practice caution. Practice sensitivity to yourself and others, and don't let out the good news until it's time. Good. Is that heavy?
Yeah, so yes, she's right. You don't want to talk about it, and you want to keep it private, because that bringing you down, you hearing those things, again, it's going to play in our subconscious and mess with us. And so it's important to wait. Likewise, if you're working on your intentions, your dreams, your meditations, whatever it is you're trying to bring to fruition, whatever that is, keep it close to your heart, close to yourself. So moving on, we were going to talk about, we talked a lot about like the birth experience, but now we're going to move on to like that first 40 days after the child's born. Okay.
And so, Heidi, before you go on, one last thing on this topic. The way the mom expresses the child's coming into the world seeds that energy in the child. So if you or someone was not expecting a child, and they'll say, that was a surprise coronavirus baby. Yeah, change your tune. Don't say that. Tell the child, so the child hears it and hears you talking about it. What a beautiful gift this child blessed my life with. versus, ha, one strange night, what happened to the condom? Yeah, don't talk like that. That's like not anybody's business. You make it feel like this baby's totally welcome. We love it. We've been praying for it. We've been doing meditations for it. So the kid hears that growing up versus, I don't know, I guess it was an accident. Like nobody wants to hear that. Even though it's like joking, funny, ha ha ha, it's not, right? Like cut that out of people's language. Like if you have a student saying that, just be like, what a blessing your child truly is. You know, like say it in a way that it uplifts them so they don't go into this, I don't know, why even have this kid? Like don't say that, and don't let the kid hear that, because that will be very heavily implanted, and that will secure my teachings for the next 40 years if kids do that, because they'll come and study with me to try to clear that out. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's not support that in our culture. Let's not do that to the kids. Thank you, Sadhari.
Mhm. So this, yeah, Prihardeva, do you have something?
I just so got into this when I was doing my test because the fertility and the prenatal and everything. And I found it so fascinating that before that 120 days, if you chanted a lot and really like made nice aura, nice space for the baby, you may get a higher being, one with the like higher resonance will actually come in, which I thought was great. And then also you can help to erase the baby's karma. So we all come with some karma, and you can help to erase the baby's karma while it's inside of you, which I'm telling all my clients this stuff. And then also, like for people who haven't gotten pregnant, I've had them meditate and bring a soul in, like try to welcome a soul in, and then they get pregnant. So I know that works. At least it worked for them. And maybe it was coincident, but maybe they've been trying to get pregnant for 4 years and now they finally got pregnant. So I do believe you can call in a soul, welcome a soul. But anyway, I find it fascinating.
Thank you. The 40 days is actually a super important time after the baby arrives. It's a super important time for quietude, to spend time with the baby. The mother stays really close with the child the whole entire time. And it's just really meant as a time to be cozy and for the immediate family only. You know, it's really a nice time, you know, if you have somebody that in your life is at this phase with the first 40 days, you know, where, you know, dropping food off at their house or something like this, you know, but at the same time honoring that privacy, because this is, you know, as I said before, when the child was in our womb, the child shared that physical functions and that aura with you and all the subtle energies, and the aura was blended. But then when the umbilical cord's cut, there's a separation obviously that occurs. But during this time, you know, so what you're doing is there's a little bit of a shock that occurs when that umbilical cord's cut. And so for the next 40 days, it's really important to kind of honor the shifts and changes in both you as a mother and the child is going through, because the vibrations and the frequencies change, right? So that's where the shock comes in. So it's a good time to have a nice, calm, relaxing environment, keeping it intimate, really eating nourishing foods and kind of really taking the time to build this nourishing relationship. And you know, like for myself, I didn't work. I didn't work. In my case, I didn't work for the first 60 days. And in fact, you know, to honor our connection with the child actually wasn't named until 40 days after she was born. Because it was just for our culture that my husband comes from, that's something that we wait to do. But so what happens is that we recommend this 40 days is because the child needs to remain with the mother's aura. And in this case, it's 9 feet. Okay, 9 feet is pretty much the furthest that we should be away from our child during that first 40 days in particular. Because that subtle change, that subtle sensitivity, if we leave the child alone in the room during this time, it can foster a level of sensitivity and discomfort and vulnerability in the child. And so if the mother needs to leave for any reason, it's important that the father comes in and takes up that role, okay, to provide that continuous loving support. There are 108 elements in a child, okay? And, you know, we are 30 trillion cells, and then you got the child's psyche is 108 elements. And so when you multiply this magnetic power and the child, that's like the power of the sun. And this 40 days helps to foster that energy and that connection. And so that vibration and their psyche, you know, it's really a powerful time to be connected. And on top of that, the first 3 years, I may have mentioned this already, but the first 3 years with our child is that our auras are actually still together. And it's during that time when they start to grow apart. That's 3 years it takes for them to kind of be into that autonomous zone. And so there's this focus that happens that where the child is obviously primarily focused on you as the mom. And usually it's not until that 3rd or 4th year when there's more attention that starts to begin to be on the focal point of the father. In most cases, the child tends to have more focus on the father, you know, around 3 or 4 years old. Because that's when they're kind of becoming in their own zone, if you will, from an aura perspective. So on top of the Adi Shakti mantra, we have the Ma mantra. Ma, just Ma. Okay, this just chanting Ma is another way we connect with the essence of the universal mother. It actually, chanting Ma, it actually invokes the mother of our soul. So that universal mother, just by chanting Ma. Okay, and then one that you may have heard of before, a good one for us is Sopurk. Sopurk. Okay, this is a chant or prayer or Bani. This one in particular is super good for us because one, it creates a sacred space. And you can find this in, I mean, you can find Sopurk listed on its own online. But there's a couple of reasons why this prayer is in particular powerful, is because it actually brings us, like I said, a sacred space, a grace that prevails over us. And it was actually written by Guru Ram Dass. And so it brings actually a healing energy and a vibration that allows us to kind of have this embodied grace and love in a way that brings out our actual healing nature. Did you, right here? Did you want some? Hello? Haridas? I can't hear you.
Reed Hardeva is asking to spell something, so I'm just trying to.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What is it that we're trying to spell?
Sopurk.
Oh, Sopurk. Okay. We can share that one too.
Yeah. And this happens to be, the Sopurk happens to also be the evening prayer for the Sikhs. One of the things, though, it does, is another reason why it's so powerful for us, is that anytime we chant it as women, we can dedicate it to the man or the men that are in our life, because it helps shift the frequency. And chanting it 11 times a day can do anything from attracting the partner that you wish you had to creating a better relationship that you have already with, you know, your husband, your partner. one of the reasons that it does this is, and I took this to heart for 2 years, chanting it 11 times a day, because I would be triggered with regards to my husband, and in some cases my brother, because it doesn't matter what man in your life. It could be your son, it could be your brother, your grandfather, your father, your husband, your boss, whoever. But what happened is that I was getting too angry. And what happened is that threw me out on my circuits, and I was not able to be clear. I was not able to be focused. I was not full of grace. Okay. I was not at my best. So I started out chanting this Sopurk because I wanted him to change. I wanted him to change the buttons that he was pushing. So I grit my teeth, and I would just pull out my sacred Nitman, and I would just start chanting 11 times. I'd slam the door, mind you, and I'd just be chanting 11 times. It calmed me down. It calmed me down. And yet, you know, I know it's transforming him somehow. This is what I got going. This is what I got to keep telling myself. So, but after doing this, I don't know, it must have been like 40, 50 days, 11 times a day. I got in the habit of just doing it every morning. Because why? Because then I wanted to prevent any of that from happening. I wanted to prevent any of it from getting started. So I just started doing it every morning. And then to top it off, because I have a problem sometimes of doing too much, I do it again 11 times at night just to cover myself. So, but what I realized is this actually changed me. It changed my capacity to be able to be firm and stand in my own two shoes. It made me unshakable. It made me light up. It allowed me to actually have an intuition to be able to see when certain things that my husband might be doing, I would be able to see the triggers before they were going to actually occur. And so I had to recognize, as much as I thought this was actually for him, don't get me wrong, things changed and transformed in him. But it actually did more for me of allowing me to be in my space and allowing him to be in his, and honoring him and the way that he was. And then all of a sudden, these buttons or whatever it is, that they were gone. They were diminished. And I had like this sense of freedom of I could be in his space anytime and be relaxed and be able to speak up for myself in a way that was graceful and most of the time very kind, but being firm when I needed to be. This is something I can truly honestly say is simply from chanting Sotpurk. And I hands down, anything you got troubles with, any kind of male influence in your life, it works. Did you have something to say, Haridas? Because you look like you did. No?
I just put the link on there for everyone for the Sopuric meditation and mantras and meaning and places where they can get it. Just resource.
Yeah.
I'm smiling because you say, you know, I was triggered, or they would press my buttons. You know, I used to say that. I said that once to a friend in 2006. I went home and I guess all my buttons were all pressed up. I don't know what happened. He says, why do you even have buttons? I'm like, oh my God, you're so smart. Why do I have buttons? Why don't I just go and disarm them all? And that's what I did. So Kundalini Yoga lets you find those buttons and, you know, blast them out so they're not there anymore. But that's called doing the work. You got to do the work. And Said Hadi did the work by overlaying her triggers, her buttons, her patterns with the Sopuric higher frequency vibrational pattern. She overlaid it. So then wherever she went, it was Sopuric that went before her, that handled the situation before she needed to react to it. So this is the magic of mantra. This is the power of mantra and how the nod helps to rewrite the codes in our brain. So if you are easily triggered kind of person, I would suggest two things. Number one, fist of anger. Everyone should be doing it every day. And then number two, the addiction meditation, because sometimes we are addicted to those moments where we get to act out because it's fun. And we get hormonal surges from it. And then we stand justified and angry. And that's why I did what I had to do, you know, and it becomes this very vicious cycle. Versus, hey, let's just do these 2-3 minute meditations, chant some mantra, do our kriya, I run everything through Japji. Life's going to be fine. It's going to be good, right? You just got to find your ingredients to make it work. So Sadhati, in these final 6 minutes, I'm going to let you wrap it up and then maybe do a few minutes of the Adi Shakti meditation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, my husband would always say I was full of nakra, because in Hindi, nakra means drama. And, you know, I would create way more drama than absolutely necessary. So the power that we discussed today of the mother, conscious pregnancy, the 120 days, the 4 days, it's all in your book. I went about it a different way, but you can feel free to read the pages 230, 231. And we're going to email these mantras and whatnot to you.
And remember, it was only 2 pages written that she can spend 2.5 hours on talking. Like, this is how rich the information is in your book, that we've spent 20 plus years reading it over and over and over because it's so thick. It's so thick and full of information. So take your time. Look, you're in no hurry. Okay, look, you're in no hurry. Just take your time. Explore. Thank you, Sadhati, for such a beautiful, beautiful class lesson today.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and we'll do a few minutes of Adi Shakti mantra. So sit up nice and straight. Have our power fingers here, index fingers up straight. Eyes are actually closed. Okay. Bring your awareness to you yourself as the creative universal mother. Take a deep inhale breath and exhale.
And Sadhati, today we're going to be using a musical version by Guru Das Kar, and it's a call and response. And in this call and response, you listen to the lines first and then you respond, okay? So go ahead and give the directions for the meditation and I'll cue up the music.
Right. So the again, we're going to have our index fingers up, eyes are closed. And so a call and response. So we're going to listen to the first line and respond back. You're talking about that one, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. And so
One second.
So Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Adi Shakti, Namo, Namo. Sarab Shakti, Sarab Shakti, Sarab Shakti, Namo, Namo. Pritam Bhagavati, Pritam Bhagavati, Pritam Bhagavati, Namo, Namo. Mata Shakti, Mata Shakti, Mata Shakti, Namo, Namo. That's the mantra. Okay. So we'll go ahead and listen to, you have it ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
How's the sound, Sadhati?
Namo, Namo, Kunda
Kundalini Mata Shakti. Namo Namo. Namo Namo. Adi Shakti. Adi Shakti. Adi Shakti. Namo Namo. Sarva Shakti. Sarva Shakti. Sarva Shakti. Namo Namo. Vitam Bhagavati. Vitam Bhagavati. Vitam Bhagavati. Namo Namo. Kundalini Mata Shakti. Kundalini Mata Shakti. Namo Namo. Namo Namo. Adi Shakti. Adi Shakti. Adi Shakti. Namo Namo. Sarva Shakti. Sarva Shakti. Sarva Shakti. Namo Namo. Vitam Bhagavati. Vitam Bhagavati. Vitam Bhagavati. Namo Namo. Kundalini Mata Shakti. Kundalini Mata Shakti. Namo Namo. Namo Namo. Okay, inhale. Hold the breath. And release. And again, inhale. And exhale. You gently bring your hands down. Relax in your lap.
And now hands at the heart center, one long Satnam before we head over to yoga class. Inhale.
Satnam.
Thank you. Thank you. See you soon.
See you in a few minutes.